we're just about done. So you've sewn your binding all the way around, starting and ending on your little cheater piece. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a hot iron and we're going to press this first seam out just a little bit. You've got a fold line there, and you can see it from both sides. You got a fold line there. We're just going to make sure using the heat of our iron, we're going to release that. We're going to get that fold hot enough so it releases, and we're going to push this out all the way around so we can move all the fabric to the back. You can do it with your fingers, but I like to do it with a hot iron to make sure it gets everything. Then we're going to invert the corners. You can start to see how it's going to look, and flip it over. Now what you're going to do is, preserving this fold right here, we're going to fold it all the way over and go all the way around. What you're going to do is you're going to iron. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Okay, so you're going to iron that down, and you're going to iron it all the way down on that side. And then in a kind of a mirroring situation of how we did the front, we ironed that down. We're going to rotate this and then fold this down so it makes that nice little mitered corner right there. You're going to hit that with an iron all the way across. So it will iron out like that. Rotate your project, fold this down so it makes our nice little mitered corner, and keep going all the way around. If you have some handy dandy sewing clips, put 3 or 4 on each side and 1 on each corner. That way, as it's cooling down, those folds that we've made are going to set into the project. So I've ironed all the way around and folded all my corners. Put 2 or 3 clips on each side plus ones in the corner. Flip it over and let's look at our cheater piece. Go ahead and iron your cheater piece flat right here so that seam is nice and open. Flip it over. You might have to trim off 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, but tuck it under your binding and give it a hit with an iron, and then put a clip on it again. So I've got my little cheater piece folded under, so it's going to cover up the spot where I started my binding and where I ended it. I'll post a link on here of how to join the binding ends in the traditional way. It's a hard thing to get really, really good at, because again, you're only going to do it once per project. And it's even harder to do on a small project because you can't manipulate the fabric as much because you're working on a mini quilt. So I'll show, but I will post a video on how to, somebody else's very well directed video on how to join the binding on the quilt in the traditional way. Let's go ahead and take this over to your sewing machine. If we did this right, when we pulled all the fabric from the front and pulled it all the way around and opened up that seam so we could pull it around all the way to the back, then we have more fabric binding on the back than we do the front. This will help us when we're sewing all the way around here. What we're going to do is we're going to sew in the ditch. What's the ditch? The ditch is the spot where the 2 fabrics meet. So you're going to be sewing a line right in between there, and if you pull this fabric around enough, it's going to catch it on the back because you have enough slack back there. 2 options. You can either sew in the ditch, which is the space in between the 2 fabrics, or if you want, you can sew just on the edge of the fabric so your thread will be visible. Use a contrasting color thread. Use white or use green or use red so it highlights. It creates another layer of design for your project. Let me show you how to do this.